30 to 70% off, so you save instantly. And then in each store, they'll have a deal where it's an additional percent off on clothing, electronics, bedding, all these things, all the stuff that you need. Go to there first, then hit the grocery store. You'll save your money, and you'll get everything that you need.
You won't believe how much you saved.
1150 North Main Street in Layton, 475 North State in Orem, and 1600 South Empire Road in Salt Lake City.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
At Gillette Services, you're more than just a customer. You're family. We pride ourselves on delivering exceptional HVAC and plumbing services with a personal touch. Whether it's a routine checkup or an emergency, we're here for you. Get a $49 tune-up for the first 50 callers. Call 385-GET-HEAT today. That's 385-438-4328 today.
A Carrier Factory authorized dealer.
Keep summer alive all year with an amazing swim spa from Bullfrog Spas. With the benefit of a heated swim spa, you can enjoy year-round swimming, playing, and exercising outside. Plus, endless days of relaxation with our patented jetpack therapy system to provide your own perfect personalized massage. Don't miss Bullfrog Spa's endless summer sale through September 28th. You'll save up to $5,000 off MSRP and get a free swim tether kit. So hurry into your local Bullfrog Spa's factory store.
Bullfrog Spas. Peaceful body, peaceful mind, peaceful home.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the crash we have in West Point at West Davis Highway is in the final cleanup stages. Most of the cars have pulled away. We're just getting a couple of cars about to do the same. So you shouldn't have any difficulty now if you're at 450 South West Davis Highway in West Point. You've got good speeds on I-15, the east and west side belt routes, 201 freeway. We also have a report of a crash on the ramp from I-15 to I-80 right at the Spaghetti Bowl in South Salt Lake, but no delays there. Right now, Utah Symphony, Utah Opera tickets are $25 with shows like Cirque Cinema, Sweeney Todd, and Pirates of the Caribbean. There's something for everyone, and they have tickets to give away. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is going to be sunny and warm, a high of 80 degrees, overnight lows in the mid-50s. Right now it's 63 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Dave, I was driving in. I was listening to a podcast episode of KSL at Night, and I was smiling all the way in. We're going to talk about one of their top stories last night on KSL at Night during the show, and this has to do with lawmakers gearing up to crack down on people who live in Utah, the residents of Utah, who have tootled on over to other states to register their boats, their RVs, their $100,000 trucks to avoid paying state sales tax, and we've got the scoop on that.
And I just thought we had a lot of people visiting from Oklahoma. I'm so gullible.
Because the plates.
All the plates from all over the place. I didn't realize they were just living 2 doors down. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
In the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to go in depth on a ballot measure. It's called Amendment A. It's a school funding issue. The state's largest teachers union asking a judge, and we talked about this a bit on our show yesterday, and of course you heard it reported here all day long on KSL News Radio, asking a judge to void Amendment A from the ballots.
We need to send a strong message that we, the people, are against Constitutional Amendment A because it will funnel public tax dollars away from public schools.
And if this happens, this will be the second amendment that's taken off the ballot. It'll still be on your ballot. The ballots are being printed right now, but they won't count the votes. Why is this going on? The court's stepping in, lawsuits. We need to have a real conversation about, is this the best way to fund education in this state? Taking all of your income tax, your state income tax, and giving it to schools, is that the best way of doing it? I'm not so sure it is.
Countdown to...
In less than 30 minutes from now at 9:35, the Utah housing crisis. We've reported extensively on the thousands of investors that are buying up thousands of homes in Utah to flip them into rental properties, which boxes out Utah families from buying a home. The Utah city that's put a restriction on investors by requiring buyers, whoever buys the property, to actually live in the home. Is this ingenious? We'll hear from that city and how their plan is working at 9:35.
Okay, it sounds great if you're trying to buy a house in this area because you don't want to be competing against Wall Street investors that are going to sweep in with their billions and pay whatever cost it is. Sure, it sounds good that way. But if I'm the seller of the home and you take away a huge chunk, you take away 30% of the bidders on my house, then you're costing me money. And that concerns me. If I'm trying to sell my home, quite honestly, I don't care who buys it. I just want to know who will pay the most because that affects me and my family.
Launch countdown 1.
Gear up for a crackdown if you bought and registered like your boat, your car, your RV in another state because that state doesn't charge sales tax. So you save thousands and thousands of dollars, right? Well, and new data shows that thousands of Utahns have used this, I'll put it in air quotes, workaround to avoid paying sales tax in the state of Utah. Well, you've caught the attention of Utah lawmakers. Right out of the gates, we're going to explain lawmakers' plan, how they'll find Utah residents who've done this, and what it could cost you.
It is tax evasion. It's not just tax avoidance. You're evading the tax on this.
A little awkward here. A little awkward conversation. There are states right now, I think there's half a dozen states, 5 or 6 states, they currently do not charge sales tax on cars. So if you go register there, you go buy your car and you're not paying sales tax, that is saving you thousands. I have never thought of that. Not smart enough to evade the taxes. I want to know how they were doing it, how common it was, and how much is it costing the state in lost tax revenue.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Dave, let me answer at least one of your questions.
So many questions.
Let's start here. Estimates show about 16,000 cars and RVs and vehicles on our roads, using our roads. And that doesn't even include the boat owners who've gone up to Montana or to Oklahoma to do this. 16,000 that lawmakers think are owned by Utahns who scooted off to another state, doesn't charge sales tax, to buy and then register their big purchase to save thousands in sales tax. And we're going to dive into the plan on what lawmakers have in store to deal with this.
And if you can save thousands and there's a legal workaround, then why wouldn't you do this? And I assumed, I've heard about this in the past, right? I mean, I'm not completely oblivious to this. I didn't realize that it's tax evasion. I thought it was just being smart. I thought it was working the system.
KSL at Night host Rusty Cannon is going to call the show in about 8 minutes because he sat through a committee meeting on Utah's Capitol Hill that happened this week about legislation to crack down on this. They discussed it last night on KSL at Night. Rusty Cannon and Marty Carpenter were hosting the show.
This is something I think is quite pervasive. We probably all either know people or have seen anecdotal stories of people going and do this. It is tax evasion. It's not just tax avoidance. You're evading the tax on this and using the vehicle in Utah. So what they proposed yesterday, and this is what was meaningful and why I think this is interesting for listeners, if you know of someone that has done this, they're going to end this, where their intention is to have a bill this upcoming session that would give roughly a 6-month grace period
to get your affairs in order.
To get your affairs in order. And after that, we are sending you a letter and you are going to pay.
So my family lives up in Bear Lake. So we go to the marina. We have a boat. I don't have a boat. My father-in-law has a boat. So we go to the marina all the time. I'm a little bit surprised I didn't realize that this is what was going on. I would see license plates from Oklahoma and Montana and Delaware all over. I thought, oh, yeah, totally reasonable that somebody travels 1,200 miles from Oklahoma.
Dragging a boat
On a trailer for 17 hours because, they just want to. They want to get on Bear Lake on a Tuesday.
They found Bear Lake on the map.
Yeah, hey, we should go there. Of course that's not what's happening. It's a boat that's being pulled from a guy that owns a house, 2 miles away, right?
But they figured out this workaround, air quotes again, to avoid paying sales tax in the few states. By registering and buying that boat in one of the few states that don't charge sales tax in this nation.
Which makes so much more sense than me. Hey, welcome, Montana. Welcome, Oklahoma. Hey, welcome, Alaska. We're so glad that you made it all the way down. You drove for 97 straight hours. No, there's a thing going on here. It's, again, a scam too hard of it. It's obviously being called illegal. I mean, that's what legislators are, how they are viewing it. They're calling it tax evasion. Now, is someone actually going to be, arrested for this, or what kind of crackdown are we talking about? But I think we do need to make sure if you are using the boat, you're driving on our roads, and you're living here, then you should be paying taxes here.
Well,
that's obvious.
Right. Rusty Cannon joining the show in just a moment. He's KSL at Night host that sat in on this committee meeting up on Utah's Capitol Hill, where this practice has captured the attention of Utah lawmakers. And he'll also explain how much revenue the state is losing from this practice, which is why lawmakers want to crack down on it. And how the state will find you if you've done this.
So if you take $16,000 and then you do the math, you're talking $60-70 million a year that we're not getting for our roads, for vehicles that are arguably being used on Utah roads.
Finally Friday with Dave and Dujanovic. The pregame tailgate. KSL brings the pregame tradition to Provo. And Jeff Kaplan's already prepping for Friday's tailgate.
I need hot dogs. I need mustard, sauerkraut, relish. I need napkins. Chairs.
Listen today as Jeff broadcasts from Lavelle Edwards Stadium.
The lighter fluid spatula.
Win BYU tickets and prizes and get ready for Kansas State.
Somebody's got to bring a football.
The BYU tailgate today from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Master Electrical Service. They'll take care of your EV chargers, your electrical needs, your recessed lighting. Well, they joined forces with Mountain Home Services. So now, not only are your electrical needs taken care of, but now your HVAC, your heating and air, your plumbing can be taken care of as well.
But wait, there's more. Have you felt the chill in the air? I felt it last night. I felt it overnight. And I'm like, wouldn't it be awesome to wake up in the morning, flip on a gas fireplace? Well, they now are installing gas fireplaces. So this is great because it's just in time for winter.
I loved my gas fireplace in my home. I will tell you, my kids would be watching a movie, and that's where the fireplace was. I would walk in. It was like a sauna. It was 1,000 degrees in there. They loved it being so cozy in the winter. So these fireplaces from Mountain Home Services, you're going to get the same unbelievable quality that you're accustomed to, the installation expertise. They're not farming it out to some third party. You're going to get that Mountain Home Service quality on the installation as well.
And also, of course, with that upfront pricing guarantee that we've told you about, which means the price they quote you is the price you pay when the job is done.
Get to know Mountain Home Services and their fireplaces. MountainHomeUtah.com is the website, MountainHomeUtah.com.
You can call them too, 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Hey BYU football fans, this is Mitch Harper. Another BYU football game week is here as the Cougars are set to open Big 12 play against the Kansas State Wildcats. To get ready for the Big 12 lid lifter, visit your local Macy's grocery store for all of your tailgating needs. They have great prices on all of your favorite game day items like burger patties, made fresh dips, and more. And did you know your favorite tailgate foods are also now offered through Macy's Catering? They offer a wide variety of catering platters from smoked meats to wings and even desserts. Catering is available to order online or in store. So whether you're having a small or large party, Macy's has you covered. Never miss a deal when you sign up for the Macy's Rewards program and emails. Get the ad sent straight to your inbox each week.
Hi, this is BYU captain and defensive end Tyler Batty. It's football season again. Make sure to shop your local Macy's grocery stores for all your favorite tailgate foods.
Get game day ready with Macy's. Happy shopping.
Introducing Peach Doors and Windows. Are you ready to upgrade your home with stunning new windows but are overwhelmed with how to begin? Look no further than Peach Windows. You know at Peach, they are all about giving you options. Peach offers a wide selection of wood windows, sleek modern black metal frames, European tilt and turn windows, plus much, much more. It's not just about looks, it's about durability and security to protect what matters most. Let them help you find the perfect match for your home, budget, and personal style. Visit their showroom and see for yourself. No pushy sales tactics, only guidance from their experienced staff. No inflated markups just to offer so-called discounts. See their 5-star reviews where customers rate them on their attention to detail through every step of the sale and installation process. Amazing home transformations begin with windows and doors. Serving Logan to St. George, just Google Peach Building to see for yourself.
Remember the good old days of 2008 when getting a mortgage felt like winning the lottery? Well, those days didn't end so well for many. At Box Home Loans, we took a different approach. Instead of lending to anyone with a pulse, we focused on people with great credit. Imagine that, smart lending from the start. Hi, this is Ben Brown with Box Home Loans. For nearly 20 years now, we've made the mortgage process smooth as possible, offering fantastic rates without any junk fees or unnecessary hassle. Just easy, straightforward service. Now it's been a wild market these last 3 years, but the feds just cut rates. Now's the perfect time if you've been waiting to buy or refinance. Save money today with a lower interest rate or lower your monthly payments by paying off higher rate debts. See how much you can save at boxhomeloans.com or call today and talk to an expert about your scenario. Call 855-294-LOAN. That's 855-294-LOAN. boxhomeloans.com. Your reward for great credit.
Equal housing lender, NMLS ID number 1359687.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
If you have scooted off to another state, you still live in Utah, and you've scooted off to this other state to register your car, your RV, your boat, you bought it there to avoid paying sales tax. Utah lawmakers have figured this out, and they have initiated the first step in a major crackdown.
And there needs to be a crackdown, apparently, because everybody that is up at Bear Lake or down at Utah Lake from Oklahoma, you're not really from Oklahoma. You're just registering there, or maybe you're in Delaware, New Hampshire. I don't know where you're registering this stuff. But sure enough, it is costing Utah a ton of money, millions and tens of millions of dollars.
Rusty Cannon of KSL at Night heard the show last night, listened to the segment that you and Marty Carpenter we're hosting, and you said you sat in a committee hearing on Utah's Capitol Hill where the first step was taken by lawmakers to gear up to crack down on this practice.
Yeah, it's one of those hearings where you're in there and you start thinking, wow, this is going to rattle some nerves, because there's apparently about 16,000 vehicles in Utah that you're telling your insurance company that, hey, this is used in Utah, but for some reason it's not registered in Utah. And so this doesn't include boats, but includes cars, RVs, and all that. They'll get to the boats later as well. But that means that if they're purchased somewhere else, like you mentioned, you don't pay sales tax. So let's assume it's 7%. It's a $100,000 boat or a $200,000 RV or a really nice Aston Martin, or something, and you just buy it in another state and avoid that sales tax, and you're telling your insurance company that it's used here in Utah, well, that's a problem. You've evaded the tax. So they want to get around this by saying, or get to this, this is about $60+ million a year to the state that's being missed out on. The plan is to give about a 6-month grace period where they'll mail a letter to all those that have these type of vehicles and say, hey, time to get your affairs in order. If they don't do that, then you'll be subject to penalties, which would be not only the sales tax that you owed, but a double amount, meaning twice the sales tax. So people are going to want to get this squared away, and that's the current plan that they're going to go forward with here pretty soon.
So why is this considered tax evasion versus tax avoidance, or just working the system?
Well, because now, if they mail you this letter and you have a legitimate business in Montana, or you live mostly in Montana, you explain it. But these are vehicles that are the insurance companies being told, hey, this vehicle is used in Utah, but yet it's not registered in Utah. So you're telling the truth to one party, but not the other. And so it doesn't match up. Now, the state has access to the database on the insurance. That's why they can match this up to cut down on uninsured motorists. And so that's the data they're going to use to go after this.
So, Rusty, I just want to camp on that for just a moment. The state insurance database will tell state regulators, oh, Debbie has car insurance in Utah, and she claims to live at a home in Utah. But her vehicle is registered and was purchased in, let's say, Montana, because that's a state that doesn't have sales tax. So the thought would be is that I tootled on up to Montana to buy a vehicle, to register it there, to avoid $7,000-8,000 if I can afford a vehicle of that price in Montana. But then the reality is I knew all along I really live in Utah. I've just avoided paying that sales tax.
Yes. Now, you would have the chance, if you got this letter, to say, no, there's a legitimate reason why. And there will be cases like that. But we all know the vast majority of these 16,000 vehicles, they're here in Utah. And they're going to ask them to square up on the sales tax that they should have paid. And then if they're not in compliance after this grace period, then you get into the penalty phase. So this will rattle some nerves.
Right. Wow. Because the sales tax they didn't pay in the other state will now be due here in Utah.
Correct.
So how far back do you go on that?
Well, the current plan is to just say sales tax is due that would have been due at purchase and then get current on registration. There's no plan to go after, at this point, previous year's registrations. It's just get current now and pay the tax, the sales tax that would have been due, and then you're all square. So
we buy stuff online all the time from all over the country. And oftentimes, this is on a much smaller level. But, if I buy a jacket or a coat or something and I get charged sales tax, am I supposed to figure out, did that sales tax come to Utah? Did it go to Delaware where the jacket was produced, or whatever it might be? How do we determine whether or not the tax that we're paying, we think, hey, listen, I bought it in this other state. Do I have to now pay for it here in Utah?
No. Well, no, that's a good question. No, all your everyday items, that's already taken care of where they assess. They're supposed to be now after several years ago with the Wayfair decision, where now, if you order on Amazon, you're paying sales tax no matter what. Mm-hmm. This is an issue with vehicles because it's this ongoing, not only the sales tax is a big amount, but you're then using it in Utah. You live in Utah, therefore you should be paying that sales tax here and not avoiding it by going to another state. This is just unique to vehicles, boats, RVs, trailers, those kinds of things.
Rusty Cannon is a host of KSL at Night, and he was sitting in on a committee hearing up on Utah's Capitol Hill earlier this week, where lawmakers took the first steps to start cracking down on this practice of people who make major purchases of vehicles in other states that don't charge sales tax, but you in fact live here, and lawmakers now want to start collecting that sales tax. How? I don't know. So this passes unanimously out of committee. And now what happens to it from here, Rusty?
Well, they'll assign a sponsor and then they'll get to the specifics. And this is part of the legislative process where it works well. And they'll make exceptions for, say, students or things where there's circumstances that, hey, they're from out of state. You got to work out all the kinks. So they'll do that and then tee it up that it'll then come forward in the session in January of 2025 if they decide to push it forward, which it looks like they're absolutely going to do. And you'd see implementation of this probably sometime in 2025.
Rusty Cannon, thank you for joining us, host.
Can I just ask one more? Rusty, don't go. I just want to ask. Yeah. And this has really caught the attention of lawmakers because of the massive amounts of lost revenue that's been problematic because the state hasn't been collecting that sales tax. And in fact, people are using the roads and using, and wear and tear on the road. That would be money that would go to help repair roads or something like that.
Yes, okay. And they estimate it's more than $60 million a year.
Wow.
Well, registration goes to roads. Sales tax doesn't. Doesn't sales tax go to a general fund?
It goes to the general fund, but there's a massive amount of that is used for roads every year. So, yes, in part it does.
Rusty, thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Rusty. Appreciate it. Loved it. Loved your coverage of this last night on KSL at Night.
So one last thing I was just thinking about with sales tax, and listen, sales tax, especially on cars, is a disaster right now. For example, the average cost of a new car is $50,000. You're going to pay $3,500 in sales tax, right? Mm-hmm. If 5 minutes later you realize, I bought a car I can't afford, I've got to sell it immediately. So I sell it to somebody else. Then a month later, it's been driven on the roads for 1 month, they're going to be paying another $3,500 in sales tax. Mm-hmm. And then if they sell it 2 years from there, they're going to pay $2,500 in sales tax. They get hit every time that car is sold. Next thing you know, if you've sold that car 4 or 5 times, which is not uncommon for a car to be sold 4 or 5 times, you've paid thousands and thousands of dollars, over $10,000 in sales tax on that one vehicle. So if you're wondering why people are salty about sales tax in cars, it's because we tax it over and over and over again. The exact same car that's getting taxed over and over and over again.
Wow, this is there's a lot to talk about here. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops. Thanks so much for Rusty for joining the show today to walk through what this legislation could mean if you've done this. Straight ahead, investors buying up thousands of homes to flip them into rental properties in Utah. The Utah city that's put a restriction on investors by requiring they do this one thing if they buy the house. That Utah city calling the show to explain next.
9:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, Chad Daybell's Rexburg home has been demolished. His lawyer, John Pryor, became the owner of the home while he was in police custody. The house was sold to S.J. Healing Crossroads. They said they plan to use the land to build a place of healing. A Utah man accused of killing his ex-girlfriend, a popular Spanish radio show host, is set to stand trial. Manuel Burciaga Perea is being charged with aggravated murder and burglary, among other felony charges. Perea is accused of shooting and killing Gabriela Cifuentes Castilla, more popularly known as Gabby Ramos, 3 years ago after the two broke up. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, locked up merchandise is part of the price consumers are paying to protect against shoplifting.
Retailers lost over $100 billion to theft in 2022, so many are putting more merchandise behind plexiglass or steel mesh. Retail analyst Jen Fagan.
The customers aren't quite used to not having that freedom in store.
Adrienne Perkins knows what it's like to have to wait for a clerk to unlock an item.
This experience would definitely make me lean towards buying things online.
Amazon CEO Andy Jassy says more people are skipping physical stores in favor of online retailers like his. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 124 now. That's 0.3%. We're at 41,900. We have a beautiful day in store, a high around 80. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hi, it's Julie inviting you to come to Logan for Funky Fall Fun. Let me tell you about 2 huge festivals in one weekend, September 27th and 28th. Bring your whole herd to the Cache Valley Cheese and Dairy Festival Friday and Saturday. Free samples, live music, kids activities, food trucks, and a tri-tip dinner Friday night. Workshops on gourmet cheese tasting and chocolate tasting, making charcuterie boards, how to crack a giant wheel of cheese, and more. Saturday only is the second annual Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival. These ain't your mama's pumpkins. They tip the scales at more than 1,600 pounds. Watch professional carvers whittle away 300-pound pumpkins. Family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, pumpkin and harvest-featured foods, a beer garden. Music, dancing, more than 100 vendors and more. The drive is gorgeous and the temperatures are perfect. Get a hotel and get moving to Logan for funky fall fun. ExploreLogan.com/fall. ExploreLogan.com/fall.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, things are looking really nice all across the Wasatch Front. You still have a bit of congestion on Bangerter Highway heading northbound trying to get to the 201 freeway. But our biggest delay is actually on I-80. This is eastbound after you pass 700 East, trying to get over to 2300 East. We have a crash blocking the left lane and shoulder just before that 2300 East exit. So traffic is a bit slow getting past there, trying to head up into the canyon. Get started on your dream kitchen or bath countertops with special financing from Bedrock Quartz for up to 18 months. Visit bedrockquartz.com for details. That's bedrockquartz.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Let's get a look now at KSL forecast. Today will be warm and sunny, a high of 80 degrees, 79 tomorrow. We're back up into the 80s midweek next week. Right now it's 63 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. The D2 Follow-Up Report. We stay connected to important stories to give you the latest.
Yesterday, we talked
about a KSL.com article that highlighted what some Utah cities are doing to make housing more affordable and free up more housing in this housing crisis that we're in. We talked about making it easier, like rolling back the red tape on building a basement apartment. And we spoke to the Mill Creek mayor about what that city has done to make it easier on residents there to rent out a room or rent out their basement. Well, today, another city making what I think is a bold move, in a way, blocking investors from buying up properties. Now, the city's community development director is going to join the show in just a moment, so maybe he'll take some issue with me saying blocking. But really, this plan, in a lot of ways, may keep investors from being interested in buying up homes in this city.
And I think it's kind of interesting the way we look at investors and investors buying up properties. And you have some good numbers on this, Debbie, of how often investors are buying up homes here in Utah. But for a buyer, if I'm competing against an investor, if I'm trying to buy a home and I'm competing against an investor, it's very difficult, right? The investor may have several people involved, several investors pooling their money together, and now I'm in a bidding war against investors. I'm going to lose that, right? They're going to give you a cash offer. So if I'm a buyer, that's very bad. If I'm a seller and I'm selling my home and I have a couple of different investors driving up the price, then that is great news for me. So it kind of depends on which set of eyes you're looking at this through.
Let's bring on Dave Peterson, and Farmington Community Development Director in the city of Farmington in Davis County. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm looking at some data. One of our former colleagues here at Broadcast House, Katie McKellar, she used to report for the Deseret News, now reporting for the Utah News Dispatch, did an excellent job recently breaking down, how many investors are buying up homes in Utah. And she cites a CoreLogic analysis from April. It says 30% of Utah homes sold last year were bought by investors. So let's just start there. Was this a trend that was being seen in your city?
We have not tracked investors. We know, for example, Sago Homes put a lot of for sale townhomes in our community recently. 50% were purchased by investors, and that was disheartening. But what we did regarding the ADU discussion with the interim committee on Wednesday, Farmington has taken a different tact, and it's a new approach for the state. And we have internal accessory dwelling units. They call them IADUs by state code. And we also have detached accessory dwelling units. In Farmington, we call them DADUs. And they're rentals. And what we started in July was now a detached accessory dwelling unit in somebody's yard or side corner yard can be a for sale unit on its own lot. And it can the lot size is dictated by the building code. And
sorry, Dave, let me just clarify that. So if I own a home, say I'm on a third of an acre, and then I build an accessory dwelling unit, are you saying that I could sell that on my third of an acre of a lot?
Yes, and even though it could occupy maybe of that 30,000 plus square feet that's in your lot, it can occupy, well, it's 2/3 of an acre, but it can occupy maybe 2,000 square feet and a 1,000 square foot ADU, for example.
So you're almost able to subdivide your own lot.
Oh, it is a subdivision. And we're allowing for subdivisions of lots. The initial lot size of 10,000 to be subdivided to allow for a for-sale ADU.
Dave Peterson, Farmington Community Development Director, live on the line with us right now, talking about the steps that city has taken to help alleviate some of the stress that we're feeling in the housing market. I'm reading a KSL.com report, Dave, and it quotes you saying the city has also taken steps to prevent investors from buying up properties to rent out by requiring that owners live in the home for at least 2 years after purchasing. That's
the for sale ADU.
Okay.
And so some members of our planning commission wanted to be for a long time permanently that the owner had to live on site.
Okay.
But the two attorneys that we had involved, our city attorney and an attorney on the planning committee, said, no, you can't do that. And they quoted all this case law. People can rent their home out in this country. And but what the compromise was, then they whittled it down to 5 years, and both attorneys said, no, probably too much. And we got it down to 2, and they said, okay, that's fair. And so that's what they've done to dissuade investors from scooping up for sale ADUs.
Okay, so just so I'm clear on this, if I owned a home in Farmington and I decided to build an apartment, an ADU in the back part of my lot, I could then turn around and sell it. But if I sold it to an investor, that investor would have to move in and live there for 2 years before they could do anything with it. Okay.
And the novel thing about this is the lot doesn't have to front the street. Most cities, including Farmington, a building lot has to have street frontage. It can be landlocked, but can be accessed via an easement. And we got a splash of interest when we adopted this July 16th. And it's not the internal lots where this is happening. It's the wider lots where they can put the ADU to the side, and corner lots. And that's where we're seeing the first 5 or 6 proposals coming in on those circumstances. It's very interesting, and the group we had assemble this together was pretty talented, and we did involve developers too. We hope this is a way that the problem is rent is not affordable and it's eliminating the ability for a household to save for a down payment, and renting does not enable equity, a creation of equity. And so our city council is thinking, how can we get ownership early, even on a small basis, so households can start getting equity and start the path to ownership. And so we're striking out on this ordinance.
Well, Dave, this is fascinating. Dave Peterson is joining us from Farmington Community Development. He's the director there. And hey, I think I'm going to reach out to you a little later today to find out more about this, because this really is novel. I haven't heard any other city that is doing this, and it's a fascinating way to build homes and to get people into homes in a very it's revolutionary. I've never heard of this being done before. This is fascinating.
If you were the neighbor to the neighbor that was building the ADU, Dave, I like this idea. I like the out of the box thinking that's going on in Farmington, but I can't help myself and say, well, if you're the neighbor to the neighbor, what do you think of this? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Do you wish your city did this so you could build a unit in your back lot and rent it out? It doesn't need to be sitting on the street to make this happen.
They're selling it.
And you could sell it.
You could sell it.
You could sell it. Do you wish your city did this too? 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. We'd love to hear from you on this Friday morning.
It's finally Friday.
You know why I'm not doing things right. You know why I'm ghosting this time.
With Dave and Dujanovic.
Misty, your memory would help me out tonight.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring Jay Broadbent from Alpine Home Medical. I'm excited to let you know we're currently having a summer sale on power scooters. As we celebrate the spirit of freedom and independence, we want to make sure you have the chance to experience it. We have a wide range of power scooters designed to enhance your mobility, and they're all available at a discounted price. These special offers only come around every couple of years, and once they're gone, they're gone. Come visit us at any of our 11 locations to take advantage of these fantastic deals, or you can browse our selection of discounted scooters on our website. We're committed to providing the 5-star experience. We can't wait to assist you in finding the perfect power scooter. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Hey, pet parents! With Progressive's collision coverage, you get extra protection for your cat or dog, because there's nothing worse than seeing your pet hurt. Like when you see their face after accidentally stepping on their tail, and you say, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pickles." But as you kiss his nose and rub his little belly welly, you know Mr. Pickles is thinking, "You betrayed me." Anywho, Progressive pays up to $1,000 in vet bills if your pet is injured in an auto accident. Learn more at Progressive.com and watch where you step. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Collision coverage subject to policy terms. Not available in all states.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. And one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Exciting news! Master Electrical Services has joined Mountain Home Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Britt Johnson. First, the federal government is days away from shutting down after a spending bill failed last night in the House of Representatives. Second, Uber drivers here in Utah and around the country can now verify their identities in an effort to make the app safer, especially for drivers. Third, we've confirmed with Tooele Army Depot that they're performing detonations today and believe that to be the source of the big booms heard across the Salt Lake Valley. Right now, it's 73 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
Well, we just heard from the city of Farmington. The community development director's name's Dave Peterson. He was live on the line with us, walking us through this fascinating concept that allows for homeowners, you own a home in Farmington, to build an accessory dwelling unit on their lot and then sell it.
This is such a fun story because we thought this story was one thing and it took a full-on pivot and it went a totally different direction. The idea of building an ADU, a detached accessory dwelling unit, a DADU, whatever they call it, and then being able to sell that, not just rent it out, But to full on sell the land and the structure to somebody else is unbelievable.
We're going to take live phone calls. Do you wish your city would do this? 801-575-TALK. We've got lots of people lined up to call to talk to us about this. But I think we also need to note that the city has taken steps to keep investors from buying up these properties, right? Because these would be ripe, prime properties for Wall Street to zip in, scoop them up, and then rent them out. But what he told us is they have implemented a 2-year period where whoever buys the home, that accessory dwelling unit, has to occupy that home. Well, what Wall Street investor is going to want to move their family into something like that? They're not going to want to move here. So that's a way they're keeping these homes in the hands of future Utah homeowners.
The problem is rent is not affordable and it's eliminating the ability for a household to save for a down payment, and renting does not enable equity, a creation of equity. And so our city council is thinking, how can we get ownership early, even on a small basis, so households can start getting equity and start the path to ownership?
We're taking your phone calls right now, 801-575-TALK. Gary in Spanish Fork. What do you think about this idea?
I think it's a can of worms, and it has to be really thought out very well. We moved to Spanish Fork 2 years ago, bought a home in a new tract. Shortly after we moved in, the house next door, without ever being occupied, goes up for sale. The house doesn't sell. It was bought by a real estate agent and a partner, and they weren't able to sell it, or at least that was right when the interest rate shot up. They built a basement. They took the basement and finished it with 4 individual bedrooms with a bathroom and a shower in each bedroom and a little kitchen. Upstairs, in the main house, I believe a 4-bedroom house, while they're building this downstairs, they rented it out to immigrants, nice people, but it turned out to be about 18 or 19, 4 families upstairs, 3 married couples, a dad, and children.
They full on turned it into a multi-family dwelling.
Which is different than what we're talking about here up in Farmington, where they have approved it for current homeowners to build on their land an accessory dwelling unit that then they can resell to a family or an individual who has to occupy that for at least 2 years.
But a little bit to Gary's point, it can be very frustrating when you have one expectation, when you buy a home and your neighbor does something completely different than what you expected and what was reasonable, because if you had known that was the plan for your next door neighbor, then maybe you don't buy that lot in the first place. So the switcheroo, that's where your neighbors may have some problem with this new plan.
Hey, Missy, how are you?
I'm great.
Good. You live in Mapleton?
Yes, I do.
Nice. What do you think about this plan that Farmington has implemented? You wish Mapleton would adopt something like this?
I really do. Mapleton is already pretty flexible with internal accessory dwelling units. We have one right now, and we rent that out. But my husband was talking about, what if we built a structure in the back part of our lot, and maybe it was a shed or something he worked in, but the upstairs could be a rental, an apartment we made out of the top. But this is a totally different situation, and I think it's fabulous. I think it provides younger families from putting down some roots. I mean, the homes that are being built now are starting around $600,000. They're just massive. And I've been thinking to myself, where are these affordable? Where are the small little ranchers or ramblers that we used to have? Where are those? So
Well, you've got the recipe now from Farmington. You should call up Farmington City Hall and get the email on how they did this, and then take it to Mapleton and ask if this is something that you could do. Build this in your backyard and then sell it.
What this essentially does is it turns everybody into a potential developer where you can subdivide your lot, sell a little chunk of your backyard, maybe lose the in-ground trampolines, put an ADU up, and then you sell it, and maybe you could sell it for a couple $100,000. Dawn, you're in Springville. What do you think?
I am, and in fact, Springville does have this kind of an ordinance. We live right behind a home that has built another home in their backyard, and I'm conflicted about it. I feel really glad that they're able to do this for their kids, but my goodness, it's put the neighborhood, I just feel just cramped. Windows right next door, and they're not frosted like the Kaysville ones are asking for. So it's like, okay, we're going to have to watch out when we walk around at night, because I can see right into their home.
Well, you know what Mill Creek did? Thank you so much, Don, for the phone call. What Mill Creek did is they said if it's right there on the property line, you got to put in the opaque windows. So there's
no one
privacy.
can see in or out.
If it's set back a ways, no, they can just do the glass windows. But great phone calls. Just great information in terms of what's going on there in Farmington and maybe other cities being able to consider doing this if this is what the city wants.
This is a very big story. In fact, I'm going to go out to Farmington and I'm going to walk through some of these lots. I've got to see some of the initial plans and what this would look like and how it would affect the neighborhood and the community, because I see some problems with it, no question. I see some real problems with it. It's also outside the box thinking that I love. And I think this could open up some incredible opportunities to get into a starter home, start building equity without having to come up with $500,000.
Will you report back to us sometime maybe next week on what you see?
We're going big on this. I love this. This is such a great, I'm so excited about this story.
Are you sad you moved into a townhome?
I should have just built something in my backyard.
I did too. Straight ahead in the 10 o'clock hour, the school funding debate. The largest teachers union in the state asking a judge to void Amendment A from the ballots. We'll go in depth starting at 10:05.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Kelly. KSL's top story this hour. We are keeping tabs on the state's status with accessory dwelling units, and now some cities are asking lawmakers to give them more of a chance. Representative Mark Strong says it's creative, but he has some concerns about a house right next to his home.
I can only imagine if I had a stranger back there and I had no control over who was living there because I didn't own it anymore.
Strong says it's a great option for families looking for starter homes, and it can give them a leg up. Chad Daybell's Rexburg house has been demolished. His lawyer, John Pryor, became the owner of the home while he was in police custody. The house was sold to S.J. Healing Crossroads, who say they want to use the land to build a place of healing. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. 8 California firefighters are being treated in hospitals this morning after their fire truck rolled over in a crash. Police say the truck swerved to miss a ladder in the road. Orange County Fire Chief Brian Finnessy says some of the firefighters have serious injuries.
I'm getting a lot of text messages from all over the country, are praying for members.
The crash happened after crews wrapped up their efforts battling the large airport fire, which has burned over 23,000 acres. Your money at this moment, the Dow and the NASDAQ have lost over 80 points and the S&P 500 down 22. Coming up, sunglasses during the day, jackets in the evening. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
At Common Spirit Health, we know that lifelong health and well-being starts with primary care.
So we have doctors and providers who see you, hear you, know you, and understand you. Because understanding you means understanding your needs. And that leads to a deeper knowledge of the prevention, wellness, and treatment options that may be best for you. It's primary care that treats your whole family like family. It's primary care with human kindness. Discover all the ways you can find and connect with a primary care provider at mountain.commonspirit.org. Nearly 70% of Utah's land is controlled by the federal government, severely limiting Utah's ability to actively manage and protect our natural resources. Our families, businesses, and communities know there's a better way. Utahns have been good stewards of our public lands for generations. That's why we're asking each and every Utahn to get informed, speak up, and learn more at standforourland.utah.gov.
Are you looking for a night of pure entertainment? Visit Abravanel Hall for the Utah Symphony's Pop Series. Each concert is special, featuring guest artists like vocalists and dancers set to rock, Broadway, or film music performed by the full orchestra. These genre-bending performances bring you pop culture with a symphonic twist. See the full lineup now. UtahSymphony.org/pops.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of 1932 $10 gold Indian coins have been found. These gorgeous 1932 gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling the secret U.S. gold coin discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed a 1932 dated gold coin featuring Lady Liberty with an Indian war headdress and a majestic eagle. With limited availability, you must call now. These 1932 dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That is 92 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-495-6468. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus over a $55 value free with every order. Call 1-800-495-6468 now to secure your 1932 $10 gold Indian coins before they sell out. Don't wait. You must act fast. Call now.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. We still have a bit of delay eastbound I-80 as you go through Sugar House. Heading toward 2300 East exit is due to a crash still blocking the left lane and shoulder. Now once you get past there, you should be good heading into Parley's Canyon. No delays on the other major freeways across the Wasatch Front. UDOT construction alert reminding motorists that the westbound ramp from US 40 to go westbound I-80 in Park City is closed through October 5th for repaving. A high today of 79 degrees, tonight 53 for the low, under mostly clear skies, and much the same for the weekend. Right now it's 64 and mostly sunny. I'm Heather Kelly from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
If you were with us yesterday, you heard us talking about Amendment A and that the state's largest teachers union had gone to court to ask a judge to void Amendment A. But you may be asking yourself, what is Amendment A? It'll be on the ballot as of this point, and you are being asked to vote on it. We'll have to see what the judge decides on this issue, but as of right now, it's all systems go, depending on what the judge decides. So we're going to get more information from our very own Heather Kelly, who has been looking into Amendment A, what it does, and the different moving parts surrounding Amendment A.
There's an Amendment A, B, C, and D. Mm-hmm. So we're going to try to have these discussions so you're very comfortable with what you are voting on come November. But, Debbie, can we jump in a little bit of a time machine? The way we fund schools here in Utah, we decided this in 1932. We've said we're going to take essentially all the state income tax. So when you're opening up your, your monthly paycheck, you're opening it up and you see state income tax. Almost all of that goes directly to school, to education. And that's just the way we've been doing it for 90 years. Now the legislature, they want to shift things up. We're the only state that does this. Maybe Alabama does it as well, but there's only us and maybe one other state that actually funds education this way. So legislators, they want to shift things up and change the way they do it.
Heather Kelly, good morning.
Good morning.
You have a podcast, and you have been looking into Amendment A and the ins and outs of Amendment A, and you have actually recorded that for your podcast. So we thought it would be a great time to have you in to walk us through what you've learned about Amendment A, so our listeners and all of us can better understand what's in the wording.
Right. Well, just as Dave said, right now, the majority of our income tax, about 75% of it goes exclusively to K through 12 education. Then you've got 22% that will go for higher education, and the rest of it, about 9%, will help with children in need and those with disabilities. And that has been the way for that kind of broke up the 100% only to public education in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where all your funds go right now. If Amendment A passes, that gives the legislature the opportunity to diversify where all of our income tax can go. So it won't go just to higher education or to K through 12. It can go to other things like the infrastructure, the general fund, what they call the general fund, which pays for Medicare, jails, prisons, general safety.
Because the state legislature, when they talk about taxes, they say it's a three-legged stool. We have state income tax, we have sales tax, and we have property tax. This is largely how everything is funded here in the state. And having this one, the state income tax held aside exclusively for children, essentially, their needs, public education, by removing that, is your understanding that it just all goes back into essentially a general fund, and then the legislature would have to determine how much money the schools get?
No, I don't think they're going to put everything into a general fund if this passes. It just gives them the opportunity to not funnel all of it to kids, to the school system. They can then, move some of that around. But part of what you had also mentioned is this Amendment B, or what they're calling a companion bill, is it also, if Amendment A passes and Amendment B, it will allow the Utah Constitution to increase the per pupil spending. Right now, we only spend 4% of the funds that are in this, the income tax fund. Only 4% of it is for per pupil spending. It can be raised up to 5%. And that is, I believe, to help make up for anybody's fears that, all of this money is just going to go away from the education area.
What other moving parts have you identified for your podcast coverage of Amendment A that you think our listeners need to be informed about, Heather?
Well, last year a bill was passed that that Utah State will remove the state tax from food. So if you go to the grocery store, you're charged a local tax, your city tax, and a state tax. They did pass this law that, hey, we'll get rid of the state tax. Unfortunately, that state tax on food goes to help pay for things like construction, all those orange barrels. So they're hoping that if Amendment A passes, they can funnel some of the money they would lose from the food tax to help pay for the construction. But they won't remove the food tax unless Amendment A passes.
Okay, so if Amendment A is implemented, approved by voters, then the food tax that we pay at the grocery store, and I know there's a big chart on how this is broken down. I mean, we don't pay food tax on absolutely everything we buy at the grocery store, but then that would be repealed?
Yes.
Okay.
It's dependent. The repeal of the state food tax is dependent on Amendment A passing.
The state food tax is food tax in general is at about 3% on food, but the state's portion is 1.75%. So they would be getting rid of that portion. There are local food taxes that would still apply as well, but this would get rid of that 1.75% of the state food tax that they are collecting.
Right. Now, one thing I did learn, by the way, I was speaking with Phil Dean, the chief economist at the Kim C. Gardner Institute. And the one thing I learned with him is because this bill already passed about removing the state sales tax from food, they could still go ahead and do that, even without Amendment A passing. But then they're losing a lot of revenue for construction. So then they'd have to figure out, well, where are they going to get funding for, that tax that goes away?
Heather, where could our listeners catch your podcast? What's it called? Give them all those details, because this will be an issue on the ballot. I know I said off the top of this segment that the Utah Education Association has asked a judge to void Amendment A, but we haven't heard a decision yet and may not for the next few days or weeks. We don't know from the judge on this. So in the meantime, it's a good idea to get educated on what you've been able to find out. So give us those details.
Yeah, so the podcast is called Money Making Sense. It can be found through KSL podcast page. If you go to kslnewsradio.com, find the KSL podcast. But you can also find Money Making Sense anywhere. Wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, you will find it there.
Thanks, Heather.
Heather Kelly, thank you. This is very interesting, this conversation is, and I think we need to do a very good job as we discuss this over the next couple of months so that we really understand what is at stake. I want to hear from both sides, people that are for the amendment, that are against the amendment. But again, we've been, I said state income tax, this happened in 1932. Well, it is a constitutional amendment. That thing passed in 1946, so I was off by a few years. But 1946 is when we said, all of our state income tax is going to schools. That's how we are going to fund education. But we have also had a lot of complaints over the years, Debbie, and we've seen this. We rank dead last in the nation in per pupil spending. And we've been last for a long time. And now a lot of legislators will say, well, it's because we have a ton of kids here in Utah. Sure, that certainly plays into it. But we still, when you basically look at any kind of research, Utah routinely and has for years come in last in per pupil spending. But our results have always been very good. In fact, right now, we're in top 5 as far as results come.
So I said at the beginning of this that the state's largest teachers union is asking a judge to void Amendment A from our ballots.
We need to send a strong message that we, the people, are against Constitutional Amendment A because it will funnel public tax dollars away from public schools.
So you reached out to somebody you've been in contact with to join the show straight ahead. What's the Cliff Notes version of what we're going to hear straight ahead, Dave?
Yeah, Amanda Oakes is with the Canyon School District. She's on the board of education in the district. And I wanted to talk to her about their position. How does the local boards that are so crucial in running the day-to-day of schools in their district, I want to get their opinion, what their thoughts are about this amendment, and maybe some of the concerns they have if this funding mechanism were to go away, if this earmark were to go away.
It's finally Friday with Dave and Dujanovic.
I was blind, now I can see. You made a believer out of me. I was blind, now I can see. You made a believer out of me. I'm moving on up now, getting out of the darkness. My light shines on, my light shines on, my light shines on.
The pregame tailgate. KSL brings the pregame tradition to Provo. And Jeff Kaplan's already prepping for Friday's tailgate.
I need hot dogs. I need mustard, sauerkraut relish. I need napkins, chairs.
Listen today as Jeff broadcasts from Lavelle Edwards Stadium.
A lighter fluid spatula.
When BYU tickets and prizes and get ready for Kansas State.
Somebody's got to bring a football.
The BYU Tailgate today from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sac Lake City with Advanced Window Products.
And I'm Jake, the other guy. Are your windows old and inefficient and driving up your energy bills?
It's time for an upgrade. Our energy-efficient windows not only look great, but also help you save on your utility bills.
And right now, we're offering an incredible deal. $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more.
That's right, $2,500 in savings to make your home more comfortable and energy efficient.
Plus, we offer a lifetime warranty on all our windows, so you can have peace of mind.
Don't wait. Call us today at 801-850-9100 or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free estimate. We also offer payment plans as low as $150 a month.
From our factory to your installation in 8 weeks or less. Call us today at 801-850-9100 or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free estimate.
Advanced Window Products, Utah's window experts.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales will be broadcasting our show live today from My Hearing Centers at their location at 900 East or 700 East and 90 South in Sandy. They've got locations, though, all up and down Utah, and we've got a deal today for KSL listeners. My Hearing Centers wants you, if you have any hearing difficulties at all, to come in and get your hearing evaluated for free and also try out the latest hearing technology. And now we're here, we're joined by Matt Deering. Matt, what are the things that they're going to get, or basically what we want them to find out is the brand new hearing technology. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we got this brand new Signia Silk Charge and Go IX.
Okay, that's so like all five combined into one.
This is like the end game, right, of Avengers. We just
brought them to start over.
We brought them all together. We put them all in one small. We take our smallest packaging.
Yeah.
We take our rechargeability.
So it's the size of a microchip now.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than a microchip, maybe a 1990s microchip, and we put that Charge and Go technology together. So we actually have these small hearing aids that are able to work attached to your cell phone, which we couldn't do before. So they actually work with Bluetooth. They're rechargeable. They got 36 hours of charging in one device. They've got the dual processor technology we talked about, all in this really tiny package. This is a great technology. We really want people to experience for themselves. We want them to see it because I can't do it justice trying to explain it over the radio. I don't have the vernacular that can paint the right picture.
I was going to say it's right here, right now. You just can't see it.
Yeah, I don't have it even because we got the last one fit yesterday, so we're getting more.
You're describing it so well. I'm picturing it in my mind because I don't see it in person.
Yeah,
so
well that's how good it is. It's so invisible that we can't see it now.
I figure it has tiny little lightning bolts on either side, right?
Would that be cool? No.
Wouldn't it? Oh, okay.
Well, but if you call during the movie show, this is where it's cool. Call 801-701-1629 for My Hearing Centers. And if you call during the movie show or between now and 1 o'clock, you can set up a free
hearing evaluation. You'll be put into drawing for a free set of hearing aids. And if you do a 30-day challenge, try the hearing aids risk-free for 30 days, you'll be able to get a gift card to get some movie tickets.
All that by calling 801-701-1629. We'll be talking with My Hearing Centers all day today on the movie show.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I have a serious heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. I still had symptoms on my beta blocker, so I asked my cardiologist about any treatment advances. It was a breakthrough for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com for more information.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb.
In business, service is everything. Cintas delivers what you need to better serve your customers. Whether it's freshly laundered work apparel for almost any job imaginable, tested and inspected fire protection systems, first aid and safety supplies, on-site AED training, or mops and restroom products, stocked and ready when you need them. Better work days happen together. So visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Jeff Kaplan gets all the great gigs. He's heading to LaVelle Edwards Stadium this afternoon from 3 o'clock on to broadcast live. It is a pre-BYU tailgate event down there, and Jeff's going to be right at the center of it. So you're a BYU fan, Utah's Afternoon News with Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News is right where you need to be. And by the way, you can get those text alert updates about the BYU games just by texting BYU to 57500. Again, BYU to 57500. Go Cougs.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Heather Kelly. First, lawmakers in the U.S. House of Representatives just passed an enhanced security bill. It will help provide the Secret Service with enough money and resources to keep the nation's presidential candidate safe from repeated threats of violence. Second, a Utah man accused of shooting and killing his ex-girlfriend, popular radio host Gabriela Cifuentes, is set to stand trial. He's being charged with aggravated murder and burglary, along with some other felony charges. Third, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, seniors in Utah have a lower rate of unemployment than the national average. Right now, it's 60 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
Amendment A. It is going to be on your ballot. You've likely heard our news coverage that the Utah Education Association is challenging it in court, asking a judge to void it. But as of right now, it's on the ballot. So we are going in depth on what it says, what it means, and getting information from all sides of the issue, those for it, those opposed to it. And right now, Dave, you've lined up somebody on the Canyon School District Board of Education to join us to talk about their position on this.
Yeah, we wanted to get some perspective from the local school boards of how they're looking at the proposed amendment, because when you look at the historical trends of how we have spent money on our kids here in school, we have had this in place since the 40s, that we take state income tax, it all goes to schools. We've been doing this for decades, for more than 80 years. But we also have routinely been ranked the lowest spender per pupil in the country over and over for decades, for as long as I can remember. So this change up, is this worrisome? Is this hopeful? So we'll bring on Amanda Oakes, the Vice President of the Canyon School District Board of Education. Amanda, thanks for joining us. I'm interested from a more local perspective, you guys at the school board, how are you viewing this?
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate the question. We are very concerned about it, Dave, and for a variety of reasons. Like you said, generations of Utah children, including myself, have been well served by the constitutional earmark established almost 80 years ago. And especially in recent years, the classroom makeup and challenges that we are dealing with have increased significantly more so. I think our forefathers were very wise in setting aside the earmark and making sure that there was some sort of consistent funding source for public ed. Now, if this happens, while it has some weak language, that doesn't necessarily make very clear how we're going to be able to receive more and not come out 50th or 51st from year to year. We've been hearing from people saying this will make things easier, but just because it makes it easier for the legislature, it doesn't mean that it necessarily makes it better. We have a lot of restrictions and limitations on our budgeting and taxing authority that are difficult to comply with, but ultimately they produce a more transparent process and a better, more well-thought-out budget, and easier doesn't always make better. Plus, it has not really been explained to us how removing the education earmark from the income tax revenue will increase education funding. The suggestion that it does just doesn't make sense.
So have you been in communication with lawmakers on this, Amanda?
Yes, we've spoken with them. They're not very interested in hearing what we have to say. A lot of them come back and say, well, we have to have this flexibility in order to do what we need to do. But the truth of the matter is, K-12 education in particular, higher ed a little less so, but we are highly restricted in what we're able to do for lobbying. And so once you open up the income tax fund to all state agencies and other needs of the state, all of a sudden you put K-12 education in a situation where we are competing where we're not allowed to lobby. Does that make sense? And so it becomes extraordinarily precarious at that point. You no longer have a safeguarded fund to make sure that public ed gets its needs taken care of, especially in an arena where the needs are expanding exponentially.
I met you, Amanda, and many of your colleagues at a KSL Deseret News editorial board meeting, and we were talking to probably close to a half a dozen of local educators, people that have been teachers, members of local school boards. And I got the impression that despite the recent funding success, and if we look back to 2017, we were spending about $5 billion on education in the state, and right now we've raised it up to almost $8 billion. So in the last 6 or 7 years, we've seen incredible growth in funding, and legislators have pointed to that. But obviously, before this huge recent increase, it feels to me like there's maybe a trust issue where you say, yeah, the last several years have been we've made good progress, but that doesn't discount what we had seen for decades before that, where the schools were incredibly underfunded.
Right.
Is it a trust issue?
I want to make it clear we are extraordinarily grateful for the funding increases, and it's been quite needed. I know in that meeting that we discussed, inflation is impacting every government entity, and public education is no exception. Over the last 3 years, we've seen a 20% increase in inflation. And while we recognize that those increases in funding are significant, and we have legislators that communicate all the time that education is the largest portion of our budget, we have a lot of children in the state of Utah. That's no surprise to anyone, proportionally more than other states. And the needs for those children have significantly increased. Mental health is a significant need. In Canyon School District alone, we have a third of our kids are in free and reduced lunch, and which means that they are either below or are approaching the poverty level. We have over 2,000 homeless students. There are 66 languages that are spoken in our district, and I can't overemphasize enough, and this is something I've tried to communicate with our legislators. We recognize the increases in funding, and they are a great help, but the needs are outpacing the funding. And it's difficult for them to wrap their heads around because most people base their interpretation of what is happening in schools on their previous experience when they were in it. And the makeup of the state is significantly shifting, and the needs are shifting. And as schools, we've been asked by the state in a number of different ways to provide a safety net for those children, and we're happy to do it. The problem is we don't always receive the appropriate funding for that, so we're not just educating, we're also providing services like, in some cases, 3 meals a day to these children, mental health screenings, a lot of different areas where we're trying to support these kids.
And I think that's probably one of the big questions that I've heard often, Amanda, and thank you for joining us, is where's the promises? Where's the specifics of how schools are going to be funded? And is there going to be enough funding? Is this going to increase funding by passing this amendment? Amanda Oakes, thank you for joining us, the Vice President of the Canyon School District Board of Education.
We're not done with this discussion about Amendment A. Our producer has reached out to Utah's Capitol Hill. She did so yesterday and is in communication with them about bringing a lawmaker who is in support of Amendment A and can explain the legislature's position on this on the show in the coming days. Well, it's going to be next week.
10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Kelly. KSL's top local story this hour: Utah's workforce grew by 2.3% over the past year. Department of Workforce Services spokesman Jared Mendenhall says that shows the state's economy is still strong, and these are numbers we would expect to see pre-pandemic. But our employment rate did tick up to 3.3%.
One of the things that we're seeing that kind of contributed to that change in the unemployment number over the past months is that we're seeing more young people entering the workforce, and many people who had left the workforce are re-entering the labor force.
Mendenhall says we did see some jobs lost in the trades and transportation industries. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The House has approved a bill aimed at enhancing security for major presidential candidates.
The bipartisan measure passed the House unanimously.
The yeas are 405, the nays are 0.
The bill directs the Secret Service to apply the same standards when providing security for major candidates as the agency provides for the sitting president and vice president. The service says Donald Trump is currently receiving the highest level of protection, but an official notes the sitting president will always have a larger security package than a candidate due to the many military assets that accompany the commander-in-chief everywhere in the world.
That's ABC's national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow has finally made it into the black, but the S&P 500 and NASDAQ are still losing ground. Coming up, mild and sunny. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales, and we are broadcasting live from My Hearing Centers, where we will be originating the movie show today. And we're joined now by Matt Deering to talk to us about the Signia Silk Charge and Go IX. I remember a year ago we debuted the Signia Charge and Go. Now we've got the Signia Silk Charge and Go. Seems like about a year you get some fancy little bit of new technology.
Yeah, but again, don't let that keep you.
Well, no, that was the other thing I was going to say is I've actually had people who got I got one friend who's had his hearing aids for 3 years, and every week he's like, "Are you guys going to My Hearing Centers today? Okay, I got to call them about that thing because I want to see if they're better than the hearing aids I currently have."
And that's what's really great about the program we're running today, right? If you have hearing aids, whether they're 2, 3, 10 years old, you can come in, free hearing evaluation. We'll look at your current technology. If we can, we'll fine tune it, polish it up a little bit, make sure it's still working for you. And then you can try this brand new technology still risk-free for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, you'll make a decision. Do you want to keep it? Is it giving you an advantage that's worth the time and commitment to be able to keep them? Or do you want to return them and just keep the movie tickets? Either way, I guess, you're getting movie tickets, right?
And that's what it really boils down to is you're going to end up with movie tickets whether you continue with the hearing aids or not. But the other thing that's really great about this offer, and by the way, the number to call to take advantage of this offer is 801-701-1629. Write that down because you're going to want to call. But it's also, whether you've ever had hearing aids, it's worth coming in just to get that free hearing test and to have it looked at by hearing professionals.
Yeah, you should have your hearing tested every year after the age of 50. So if you are over 50, or if you feel like you're having a hearing problem, this is a great time to give a call. I know I'm getting blinks from my peripheral of like maybe I should come in
next year. I can't wait.
When you finally turn 50,
yeah,
Steve.
when Steve finally clips over 50. But the reality is by managing your hearing loss year after year, we'll be able to maintain better what you have, and more importantly, be able to maintain your understanding levels. We can talk later, but the longer you wait to do something about your hearing, the more your understanding is affected, the harder it is to get back.
And there are health problems associated with hearing loss that maybe you haven't thought are connected to that. And those are things we'll talk about as we broadcast from My Hearing Centers today. 801-701-1629, the number to call to take advantage of this offer of a free hearing evaluation and a free 30-day trial of the latest and greatest in hearing technology.
Emergency traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And if you're on the 201 freeway, it is pretty much at a standstill. This is eastbound just after you pass 5600 West all the way over to the I-215 West Belt. It's due to construction. Only one left lane is open in that area that was already being constructed right over 3200 West. So 3 lanes are having to file into one left lane, and that has just brought you to a crawl. You may want to avoid the 201 freeway coming out of Magna this afternoon. Good news is everybody else is moving well. Put the equity in your home to work with a home equity line of credit and get 6.49% APR for the first 6 months. Learn more at cypresscu.com. And we have a high today of 79 degrees. Tonight, 53 for a low under mostly clear skies, and much the same for the rest of the weekend. Right now, it's 68 degrees and clear. I'm Heather Kelly from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
It's the 10-word headline, 10-word headline that's going to send my co-host straight through the roof. He's going to rocket to the moon when we walk through this article in the Deseret News. But let me start with the headline, and I want to see your reaction. Look at me, Dave, square in the eyeballs. Georgia governor signs order allowing universities to directly pay athletes.
It's about time. Can we stop pretending like these athletes are student athletes? They're here for an education. Like, that is not why we send kids to school anymore, for the educational experience. If you're an athlete, especially in football, I'm looking at you football, I'm looking at you basketball, you are there to make money for your school, first and foremost. So the fact that in the idea that schools start paying them directly, it's about time.
This is a sea change.
It should be. This is only at a couple of schools, though.
If I would have known that I could have gone to college and been compensated beyond a, $200 scholarship, if you know what I mean, I would have been all in on this. This would have been my career straight out of high school.
Well, as long as you play basketball and football.
Governor Brian Kemp, according to Deseret News' Dennis Romboy, who wrote this article, that we're going to walk through what the different states are doing to compensate their college athletes. So let's start in Georgia. Governor Brian Kemp issuing an order on Tuesday that keeps the NCAA, so we say NCAA or NCAA, NCAA, or athletic conferences from punishing universities and colleges in that state for compensating or offering compensation for the use of students' NIL agreements. Is that making sense? Break it down for me, Dave.
Well, I can break it down because it's impossible to follow. If you're confused, Debbie, and you're not alone, nobody understands it, not even the athletes themselves. They just know they want to go play some football, they want to get paid. But the funding mechanisms, how they are paying these kids, is a mess. And it has been a mess since the very first time they decided to start paying college kids.
So what is the NIL agreements that we're talking about here?
Okay, so years ago, college football, college basketball, it has been around forever. It's made billions and billions and billions of dollars for the NCAA. It's made millions for the universities and schools. NIL finally allowed companies to sponsor athletes directly.
Name, image, and likeness, right?
Yeah,
That's
so
what that stands for.
Name,
Okay.
image, and likeness. So they say Caitlin Clark, she's a great example. She was the biggest women's basketball player in history, like the most popular. She captivated the nation. Well, before, let's say 15 years ago, she would get scholarship money. That was it. That was how she got paid. Despite being the face of women's basketball, she didn't get anything. Last year, she made over $3 million.
In contracts.
And it was contracts. So Gatorade,
Okay.
Nike, shoe companies, and they would pay her. Now, it is a hot mess right now, just because you have a few really high-profile players that are making most of the money. Well, what about all the other players on the team that are not making anything? That doesn't sound terribly fair, does it, in a team sport?
But in Georgia, where the governor has signed this executive order, it sounds to me, again, I am not the kind of expert that you are in sports, but it sounds to me like if NIL agreements are entered into with the athletes there, the NCAA is prohibited for punishing that school for direct payments to the athletes in addition to these NIL agreements.
Yes, it's very difficult to follow because right now, do the companies pay these athletes directly? And this has been a whole morphing experiment. Do you pay the athletes directly? Do you raise a bunch of money on behalf, this is the most popular thing, do you raise a bunch of money on behalf of the school and then the school divvies out the money however they want? That's currently what's happening right now. This newest thing will be, we're just going to give you the money and then the school can pay the athletes whatever they determine.
I see. Okay.
So it would simplify it, and an athlete could go to the school and say, hey, listen, I want to come be quarterback for the University of Tennessee. What does that pay? Just like you and I would in a normal job interview. You'd go in, hey, what does this position pay? Oh, it pays $1 million? Great, I'll take the job.
So let's get back over to Tennessee now. In the headline or subheadline in this Deseret News article is Tennessee is going to charge fans a talent fee. So the school intends, the University of Tennessee has come up with another way to generate funds to pay athletes. This is the Deseret News article. The school intends to add a 10% talent fee to season and single game tickets for volunteer football starting in 2025. And the school also plans to raise ticket prices by 4.5% along with that surcharge. What's your reaction to that?
This is what happens. They raise tickets to pay for the athletes.
And it's a talent fee. It's going to go directly to the talent.
Yeah, they claim that's what's going to happen. I'm sure that's probably how they're going to justify it. We have overcomplicated this on a level that is almost incomprehensible. The way we are running college athletics, the way we're paying the kids right now makes no sense. Just run it like you would any other professional organization. It makes no sense that you would say, hey, we're going to charge you this ticket price, but we're going to add another $10 because we're going to pay this quarterback or we're going to pay this wide receiver. They are subdividing and cooking the books and changing things in a million different ways. It's so confusing. Just charge a straight ticket price. Just make it simple. This is what it costs to go to a game. And then however you want to pay your players, great. Just you figure it out. But the million different ways that we're paying students is just awful because the kids don't know what the game is. They don't know what they're entitled to because everyone is playing by a different set of rules. And that is a terrible way to run a business. It's ripe for corruption. It's confusing, most of all, to the 18-year-old kids that they're recruiting. And it's unfair to take advantage because it's such a complicated scenario. You're taking advantage of kids that are fresh out of high school.
I told you that this would send you straight through the roof.
And it did.
It's Friday. With Dave and Dujanovic.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Well, we're just 15 short minutes away from the movie show. We're broadcasting live today from My Hearing Centers. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales. We're joined now by Matt Deering from My Hearing Centers. Matt, deal for KSL listeners. If you call and schedule an appointment with My Hearing Centers to get your hearing checked for free, we love the word free on the movie show, and you've got a lot of free stuff. So free hearing evaluation, free risk-free 30-day trial of the latest hearing technology, and people who finish the 30-day trial, whether they keep the hearing aids or not, get free movie tickets. That's great.
Yeah, I'm actually now ready to sign up.
Great idea. The number is 801-701-1629 if you want to give it a shot.
Is that your home number or no?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, if you call that number, you get into our offices, and they are ready to answer those calls.
By the way, your call center is really pretty amazing.
Thank you. I'll share that back to them. They'll be happy to hear that.
I love those guys.
Yeah, they do a good job. We really appreciate them. They work hard, and they're ready right now to take those calls. 801-701-1629. We have offices from Ogden all the way down to St. George. And so if you're a snowbird and you're on your way back up, you can start there, and we can finish.
You can just go to all of them on the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you're almost 50 and you haven't had your hearing checked in a while, why not take advantage of this free offer? And then how often should you get it checked once you do turn 50?
Well, you should, again, have your hearing checked every year.
Okay.
Just make sure it's okay. We do those complimentary in any of our offices. If you have hearing aids, we also recommend you still have that checked every year. Hearing loss changes over time, subtle changes, and we'll just keep fine-tuning the hearing aids that you have to make sure they're still working appropriately for you.
A friend of mine was at one of the football games, I don't remember if it was BYU or Utah, but was talking about how difficult it was. Obviously it's difficult to hear over crowd noise, but when the crowd wasn't in the middle of cheering, they were having trouble hearing the person near them and separating it from just all the noise and everybody talking all around them, plus the PA system and everything. And as I look at one of the things that the Signia does, where it locks in on the person that you're listening to, I was thinking, I bet that would have been really advantageous in that moment.
Yeah, I'd love to see what it would be. I mean, I've been to loud stadiums. During loud moments at loud stadiums, it's going to be hard to hear.
Nobody, right?
Yeah, regardless of your hearing loss. And then I've left stadiums where I've had a little bit of a ringing in my ear afterwards. They've been so loud, which is pretty fun. But this technology hones in on the specific individuals that are speaking to you, and depending that you can turn your head, they can move away, move back and forth. It keeps that spatial awareness to make sure that you can hear them.
So we'll be talking about some of the amazing things in the Signia Silk Charge and Go iX as we go along in the movie show. But the number to call to make that free appointment, 801-701-1629.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Heather Kelly. First, a new bill wants to make housing more accessible and affordable for military families. It would make sure that housing allowance would not be considered as income from those in the military. Second, Utah ranks 13th on a list of best states for thrill seekers with slopes, trails, and lots of national parks. Third, Chad Daybell's Rexburg home has been demolished. The house was sold to SJ Healing Crossroads. They say they want to use the land to build a place for healing. Right now, it's 68 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
This is the standout story of the week.
You good? You okay? Is this park?
A Michigan sheriff's deputy being hailed a hero for climbing from the patrol car as that vehicle was moving. She was the passenger in the patrol car. Her partner was driving into a truck that had been swerving all over the road because it appeared the driver had a medical condition.
At first, you thought it was maybe a drunk driver, distracted, whatever it might be. So the cops throw on the lights. They're trying to pull this person over. They are not complying at all. Driving very slow, like 5-10 miles an hour, and not following or heeding the instructions. And this is where the cops start realizing there's probably an issue going on, perhaps a medical issue going on. And she's got a window punch in her hand. She's trying to maybe break the window to see if they can get
where they're driving side by side.
Oh, yeah, right alongside.
If they're inches apart. And she's hanging out the window, according to, like, is that helicopter video we're looking at or surveillance video along the road?
Yeah, it was one of those traffic cams.
And then they had the body cam video as well. And she is hanging out the window, the patrol car moving beside the truck, and the truck driver is non-responsive.
Yes, dazed, confused, and the car is just going. Finally, the police officer just leaps through the window. She's like hanging out, and she leaps through the window through the driver's side. She's crawling over the driver, gets the car stopped, throws it in park, turns the car off, and she's like, "Are you okay, buddy? Is everything okay?"
Yeah, they said it was a medical episode that the driver was having. And his 63-year-old driver suffering a medical emergency. This happened just outside of Detroit. And Dave saw this, and he's like, this is the standout story of the week.
This was unbelievable. I didn't know if we could talk about it today. I'm glad we squeezed it in because it was incredible. What unbelievable bravery to have a police officer jump from a moving car. I get it. It wasn't moving that fast. I'd like to see you jump from a moving car into another moving car.
The following preview has been rated G and is appropriate for all audiences.
Our movie show, guys, as we were watching this video, all I could think of is this is a made for the big screen kind of moment with this cop leaping from the moving patrol car to save the driver in that moving vehicle.
It's like the Fast and the Furious, guys. I was watching the Fast and the Furious in real life. It was amazing.
Now, did they run a disclaimer, you should not attempt this at home because... You know,
trained professional.
Well,
only
I think
trained
it's a great
professionals.
heroic moment for a police officer in Michigan who obviously, you're right, we wouldn't do that at home, but they
this wasn't done by
no,
the
but
fall
that's
gal.
Right. When you see it happen in real life, it kind of underscores, first of all, how amazing it is to happen in real life, and then how we've kind of become used to this amazing stunts that we see. We kind of don't realize how difficult they are to pull off because we're kind of used to seeing it.
Take two.
I mean, think about it. If we have a meteor coming down, there's a part of me that's like, it's a great special effect. Oh, wait.
I'd go out and try to catch it.
So what's the movie of the week?
Well, our big movie of the week is actually animated, and it's got some big stars in it, and it is called Transformers 1.
Oh, let's listen.
You have the power to make your world better. But this fight is mine.
I grew up on the Transformers. I love the Transformers. I owned Transformers. And there has been roughly 8 billion Transformers movies made.
Correct, but this is only the second one that's animated. And remember, it came from, granted, everything that when we talk about Transformers has to be acknowledged. These exist to sell toys.
Yeah, Hasbro.
That's why
toys.
And by the way, it's the 40th anniversary of the first Transformers cartoon aired this week 40 years ago. Do you remember that? Did you watch that one, Dave?
Absolutely, I did. I was absolutely hooked on Transformers.
His eyeballs just got really big because he was doing the math on how old that makes him.
It's 9 years old.
Okay, so what's your big question of the week, guys?
Our big question of the week. Do you not want us to talk about Transformers?
Oh, go ahead.
She had already moved on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get it.
I love this.
It's
part
okay.
Of the,
We
but you
can
guys
do
are
the
gonna
question.
Talk about Transformers right off the top of your show in a few minutes, right?
We are.
yeah.
And it'll be interesting because for me as a Transformers fan, I thought it hit all the right notes.
Nice.
And not every Transformers movie has done that.
No.
I'm curious what Steve thought as being a little older than the Transformers group. Well, did you play with Transformers?
I had daughters, and I was married and had,
Did they play with Transformers?
No.
Okay, so what did you...
Well, yeah, because I finally, when I started watching the movies as a film critic, then I sort of... But the backstory never always confused me. I'm like, wait, where does Megatron? Where's he going? What's happening here? So this movie helped in that regard.
This is the origin story.
Yes. And it supposes that they were friends before they were enemies.
Totally.
Megatron and Optimus
Totally
Prime.
kid friendly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Very much so. But also not adult boring. That was the part that I liked.
Yeah, there's a lot of humor in it. Some great jokes, I thought. Some that I didn't even like. Did they really mean that? That's amazing.
Fun.
Yes.
Good.
So, okay. So
Nice.
now we've talked
Thank
about
you.
Transformers, and we will review that as we begin the show.
Love
but
it.
our question of the week, and I'm curious as to what you thought, because this is actually one of the movies for me. What movie did you expect it to be meh, but it turned out to be really good?
Oh, I love this. Because
Expectations determine so much about how we like a movie.
it is so true because you can go into a really, really good movie, but if your expectations are sky high, you're like, it was all right. So I try to always manage expectations, but I will tell you, can I share mine? Can I be first?
You
Please.
go.
Okay, this one shocked me more than any movie that I could remember. I had zero expectations. I didn't think this movie would be good at all, and it ended up being epic. Let's play a little bit.
Metaphors are gonna go over his head. Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
Guardians of the Galaxy, top of the list. I thought the weird talking raccoon movie was going to be a disaster, and I loved it.
Oh, that's a good choice.
That's a great movie.
And I bet there's a lot of people who would agree with you on that.
I had no idea. I had no idea who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, right? I mean, I was a superhero guy, but I'd never heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it turned out to be one of my favorite Marvels.
I'll go real quick. I'll go real quick because I'm so shallow with this kind of stuff. You guys are so brilliant on these topics. Hunger Games. My daughter was into the Hunger Games book series, and I was flying about the country a lot at this time when it was starting to come out. And she's like, we can't go to the movie together until you've read the books. So I sat on airplanes and read the books on her behalf. Then we saw the movie together, and I loved it. I love that. I love the books, and I love the movie. Okay, that's all I got. How about you guys? We got 40 seconds, guys.
Mine is Waterworld. I had heard so many horrible stories about that movie, and I thought, okay, well, let's go. And then I fell in love with that film. I thought it was just absolutely great.
Nice.
I haven't seen it. Now, just because of that story, I'm going to watch it.
Dave's queuing it up.
I didn't know what I was going to think of the most recent Dune movie. Not number 2, but the first one, the Denis Villeneuve from about 2 years ago. And I was like, if this is as bad as the first one, and it's so boring. And when I was done, I was like, this is the best movie I have seen this year.
It's funny when you have like hundreds of millions of dollars spent on a movie. You're like, my expectations are low.
That's true. It's true though, and I have we have some others that we'll talk about in the movie show too, and we'll take our listeners' thoughts too.
Look forward to it. Great question. That's a lot of fun. All right, Steve and Andy, the movie show coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Kelly. KSL's top local story this hour, Utah added 40,300 jobs over the past year, showing the state's economy is still growing.
We're still seeing some strong growth in healthcare, construction and business services.
Department of Workforce Services spokesman Jared Mendenhall says Utah's unemployment rate ticked up a bit to 3.3%, which is almost a full percentage point below the national rate. A motorcyclist is charged with speeding in Sardine Canyon, going 74 miles an hour over the speed limit. Charging documents say Quinton Rodriguez was going 134 miles an hour. When an officer tried to stop him, he sped off, weaving through neighborhoods. He is facing a number of charges, including reckless driving and failure to stop. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The House approved a bill aimed at enhancing security for major presidential candidates.
The bipartisan measure passed the House unanimously.
The yeas are 405, the nays are 0.
The bill directs the Secret Service to apply the same standards when providing security for major candidates as the agency provides for the sitting president and vice president. The service says Donald Trump is currently receiving the highest level of protection, but an official notes the sitting president will always have a larger security package than a candidate due to the many military assets that accompany the commander-in-chief everywhere in the world.
That's ABC News correspondent Stephen Portnoy. Your money at this moment, the markets are holding fairly steady. The Dow up a smidge and the S&P 500 and NASDAQ down a smidge. Coming up, mostly sunny and mild. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
If you need a new roof, there's a reason IWC Roofing is the #1 residential roofing contractor in Utah. IWC has been replacing